welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle, and this is my Cloak and Dagger Christmas Pile of Possibilities video. I can't even call it my to be read list because there's just so many here. I couldn't choose, and I think it's good to have options because what if you don't like a book and you decide to stop reading it and you need another option, right? Not only do I have these books that I'm specifically showing you in this video, but now this is how crazy I am. I took my TBR cart and completely emptied it out, and it is now full, basically full, of books that I could read in December. So books from my own shelves, books from the library that would fit the prompts for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. Also, any kind of Christmassy holiday books that I've been wanting to read, I've thrown on here as well. So I just think it's going to be really fun throughout the month to see the TBR cart get emptied. A little bit anyway. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about Cloak and Dagger Christmas. The first book I want to mention is Footsteps in the Dark by Georgette Heyer. This is our group read, and I am definitely going to be participating. I'm excited about this. I actually own quite a lot of Georgette Heyer, but I did not have this one, so I had to get it from the library. Footsteps in the Dark is, I believe it's her first mystery that she wrote, and this was originally published in 1932, and it is about a group of people who own or buy the house known as the Priory. 3 siblings. They inherit the estate from their uncle, and they go there for a holiday. And there's rumors that it's haunted, so I love that ghosty aspect. Is perfect in December at Christmas. And then of course there is a murder to be solved, so I'm excited to get into this one. Alright, let's get into the prompts and the possibilities I have for each one. We'll start with Inspector Bucket, which is to read a Victorian mystery or one set in the Victorian era, and I have options for both of those. For the Victorian era part of this, I have 2 choices, and I'm really excited about both of them, and I actually think that I'll probably get through both because they're quite small. This first one is Mr. Bazalgette's Agent by Leonard Merrick. This was written in 1888, and there is a female detective, so I love that. Her name is Miriam, and she gets a job working as a private agent for Mr. Bazalgette, and he has her traveling on a train to Hamburg in pursuit of an audacious fraudster. What follows is a journey through some of the great cities of Europe and eventually to South Africa. So I am all over this one. This one sounds really, really fun. The other option for that one is The Notting Hill Mystery by Charles Warren Adams. This is another skinny one, so I think that I should be able to read both of these. This was published in 1862, so it's a lot earlier than the other one. It's widely acknowledged as the first detective novel, so that's interesting. The main character is an insurance investigator called Ralph Henderson, who is building a case against the Baron R. This was back in the age when for some reason they didn't give you the full name of a person or a place even sometimes. He's called Sinister. He is suspected of murdering his wife. And what makes this book so intriguing is that it is presented in the form of diary entries, letters, chemical analysis reports, interviews with witnesses, and a crime scene map. So I'm really excited about that one too. Okay, and then I also have a couple of options for books that are set in the Victorian era. The first one is Birdie and the Tin Man by Peter Lovesey. This is a Prince of Wales mystery, and so I'm super excited about this one. We have future King Edward VII, Birdie, Prince of Wales. He decides to investigate because his friend, who is a jockey known as the Tin Man, has taken his own life. But Birdie doesn't really think that it's suicide, so he starts to investigate, and I mean, yeah, how is that not awesome, having the Prince of Wales being the investigator? This one, I also really loved the first line of this one. The Tin Man asked, "Are they coming?" and reached for his revolver. I love Peter Lovesey, so I have high hopes for this one. And then a new one that I just recently heard of. This is A Study in Murder by Callie Hutton. And this is set in Bath in 1890. This is a new release, well, a newer release, 2020. Our main character is Lady Amy Lovell, and she writes mysteries herself. She's an author. She receives an anonymous letter with shocking news about her fiance, telling her that he's gotten himself involved in something illegal, and so she breaks off the engagement. And then her ex-fiance makes an appearance at her house. She sends him to a different room to cool off, and when she goes in there, she stumbles across his body with a knife in his chest. So that sounds like it could be fun as well. All right, Inspector Gamache. Read a mystery with a bilingual detective or one set in a village. So let's start with bilingual detectives. First up is the second in this trilogy, the Sikander Singh trilogy. I read the first one recently. I recently talked about this. And this is set in India. This one it's December 1911. So I thought this was the perfect time to read this second book in the series. The main character is the Maharaja of Rajpur, and his name is Sikander, and he is bilingual. He speaks English as well as possibly a few Indian languages. I can't remember now what they are, but he is definitely bilingual. And in this one, they are the British are hosting a grand durbar to celebrate the coronation of the new King George V. And so everyone has gathered at the Viceroy of India. They've all gathered at the Viceroy's command, and including the Maharaja Sikander Singh. And he's at the Majestic Hotel. And he gets called into the personal chambers of George V, and that's because there is a girl who is hanging there. She's dead. And so they thought that maybe it was suicide, but he right away realizes that it's murder. And so he agrees to investigate to help them out, because obviously it is not a good thing to have a dead girl in the king's personal chamber. Okay, the other one, and this one is brand new, and thank you very much to my subscriber who recommended this book to me. This is the Frangipani Tree Mystery by Ovidia Yu. I might not be saying that right. This is set in Singapore in 1936, and I am super excited about this one. The British abdication crisis and the rising Japanese threat seem very far away in Singapore. The acting governor is looking for a new nanny, and so he hires mission school educated local girl Sue Lin. She's an aspiring journalist trying to escape an arranged marriage. But then a murder takes place at the residence, and she starts to investigate with British-born Chief Inspector Thomas Lefroy. I'm really excited about this one. 1936 is a great time period. I love that it's set in Singapore, and our main character, Sue Lin, is bilingual. She speaks a number of different languages. Okay, and then a couple that are set in a village. This is Dead Sirius by Staines and Story. This is a writing team that write the Superintendent Bone mysteries. These are set in England. And Dead Sirius is one in the series that is set in a village, the village of Biddinghurst. A local celebrity is found dead in a very odd place, and then another villager is stabbed to death at the village Fate. And this town, Biddinghurst, is famous as the second most haunted village in Kent, and now they're starting to worry if they have a serial killer. And Superintendent Bone arrives to investigate. And then another one for the village prompt is Say It With Poison by Anne Granger. This is a series that my mom has been recommending to me for a while, so I'm excited to have a chance to dive into this one. I like Anne Granger's Victorian era series, and so I'm looking forward to this one. This one is a contemporary series, and it is even just called the Mitchell and Markby Village series. So we are in the village of Westerfield, and Meredith Mitchell, she is staying with family in the run-up to a wedding, and there is murder and blackmail. And then we also meet Chief Inspector Markby, who investigates. And so yeah, I'm excited to try this series out. Okay, the next prompt is the Tommy and Tuppence prompt, which is to read a mystery that features a great partnership or team. And you might giggle about my two choices for this one, but the first one is a Peculiar Crimes Unit mystery. This is Bryant and May. They are such a fantastic team, and I love this series so much. But I have read this series completely out of order. I kind of was like around the middle of it whenever I could get a hold of a book, and then at some point then I just started reading going forward in the series. But there's a few from the beginning that I hadn't read. Anyway, this is the second one in the series. So even though I'm continuing reading the newest books that come out, I've gone back to the beginning to start again. This is the second one. So this is technically a reread for me, but this is where I am in the series, and I love Bryant and May so much. This is The Water Room. And in this mystery, they are investigating an elderly recluse who drowned in a chair in her dry basement. So it's definitely a peculiar crime. We get a lot about the underground river system in London. So yeah, I'm looking forward to rereading that one. But then I also have the newest for me in the series, and this is Oranges and Lemons. And I don't want to give too much information because this is one of the newer ones in the series, 2021. So it's potentially the newest in this series. But a prominent politician is crushed by a fruit van making a delivery, and the Peculiar Crimes Unit has to investigate. So I'm excited about that. Okay, moving on to the Agatha Raisin prompt, read a mystery with an amateur sleuth. And I have a few options here. First up, we have A Quiet Life in the Country by T.E. Kinsey. This is a Lady Hardcastle mystery. I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's been on my shelves for a while, and so I thought this was a great opportunity. This is set in 1908, which is such a great time period. I really like the Edwardian time period, but there's actually not a ton of mysteries set in the Edwardian time period. Lady Emily Hardcastle is an eccentric widow, and her maid is Florence Armstrong, who is an expert in the martial arts, which I think is awesome. They've just moved from London to the country, and there's a dead body in the woods, and the police are on the wrong scent, so Lady Hardcastle decides to investigate. Therefore, she is an amateur sleuth. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one too. And then we have the Eliza Doolittle and Henry Higgins series. This one is the first one, called Wouldn't It Be Deadly? This one, interestingly enough, is also set in the Edwardian time period, which is funny. So both my choices for this are during that time period. This is 1913. And so these are based on the characters from Pygmalion, the play by George Bernard Shaw, or the movie My Fair Lady. You might be more familiar with it. I read this one years ago and absolutely loved it, but didn't realize that it was part of a series, or would become part of a series. So I'm going to reread this one and then continue on. And the next one in the series is Move Your Bloomin' Corpse, which is awesome. I love that as a title so much. And in this one, Eliza and Henry are at Royal Ascot, which is a famous horse racing event in England. And so, yeah, so I'm really, really excited about these ones too. Okay, Hercule Poirot. Read a Golden Age mystery or one set between 1920 and 1945, between the wars kind of era. We're not too particular here, but kind of that general time period. Feel free to read whatever you want from there. So starting with Golden Age mysteries, I have It Walks by Night by John Dickson Carr. I'm super excited to get to this one too. This is a locked room mystery set in Paris. So yeah, how can that not be awesome? This was originally published in the 30s, I believe. Yeah, 1930. I have another one, and this one is a Christmas one, The Christmas Egg by Mary Kelly. This was published in 1958. So like I said, that is a little bit later, but I think it kind of has that, it still has that feel of the Golden Age, and it's a Christmas one, and so I wanted to get to this one too. It's the 22nd of December, and Chief Inspector Brett Nightingale and Sergeant Beddoes have been called to a gloomy flat off Islington High Street. An elderly woman lies dead on the bed, and her trunk has been looted. The woman is Princess Olga Karkin, an emigre from Civil War Russia, and her trunk is missing its glittering treasure. And then another one, and this one, I've been wanting to read this play for so long, and there's actually, there's a movie about it available on, I think it's BritBox, that I want to watch in December, but I wanted to read the play first. And this is An Inspector Calls by J.B. Priestley. This was written in 1945. And this is a pretty famous play, but I have never read it, so I'm really looking forward to that. A little bit of information here. All three acts, which are continuous, take place in the dining room of the Burlings house in Brumley, an industrial city in the North Midlands. It is an evening in spring 1912. So there you go. And so to add to that, then I will also hope to watch An Inspector Calls during December for the Columbo prompt, which we're getting to. Okay, and then for mysteries that are set between 1920 and 1945, we have Corpse at the Crystal Palace by Carolyn Dunn. This is the latest in her Daisy Dalrymple series. It is April 28th, and Daisy takes her charges, her children, her cousins, and the nanny to visit the Crystal Palace. So I love that setting for this. And then her nanny goes missing, and then she stumbles across the body of another nanny. And so she starts to investigate, and of course her husband, who is a detective chief inspector in Scotland Yard, is involved as well. And then The Winter Ground by Katrina McPherson. This is the fourth in her Dandy Gilver series, and I want to read this one because it's one in the series that I had not yet read, and it is set in December, or at least over the winter. There is a circus comes to spend the winter at a neighboring estate to Dandy and her families, and there is all kinds of mischief, including a murder, and so yeah, I'm excited about that. And then we have the Detective Galileo prompt, which is to read a translated mystery or one set in a country different from your own. And for that, for the translated mystery, I have Murder in the Crooked House by Soji Shimada. I read his Tokyo Zodiac Murders and really liked it, and so I'm excited about this one. This is a locked room mystery. It has been translated from the Japanese. Originally published in 1982. Also, one thing that I love is they've got this cast of characters, but each section, it's Act 1 and then scenes, Act 2 and the scenes. I kind of like that. And it's very classic mystery Agatha Christie-esque, and I'm really excited about that. We have Crooked House that sits on a snowbound cliff at a remote northern tip of Japan. A curious place to build a house, but even more curious is the house itself. A maze of sloping floors and strange staircases full of blood-curdling masks and uncanny dolls. When a guest is found murdered in seemingly impossible circumstances, the police are called, but they are unable to solve the puzzle and more deaths follow. Enter Kiyoshi Mitarai, a renowned sleuth, and it's one of those mysteries where you have all the clues, and so you have a chance to try and solve it before the sleuth does. So, very excited about that. And then for mystery set in a country different from your own, I have Midnight at Malabar House by Vaseem Khan. Again, another one that I am super excited to get to. This is set in Bombay on New Year's Eve 1949, and the main character is Persis Wadia, who is the first female detective in India, and she has been put on the midnight shift. She's been shunted and ignored, and then the phone rings to report the murder of prominent English diplomat Sir James Herriot, and so she investigates with Scotland Yard criminalist Archie Blackfinch. Okay, and then we have the Kinsey Milhone prompt, which is to read a mystery with a private detective, and I'm so excited about all of these, but I'm really excited about this one too. I just discovered this, and this is Death in Sunset Grove by Mina Lindgren. This is the Lavender Ladies Detective Agency. Oh my goodness, I love this so much. And I'm so fascinated also because it is set in Finland, and it has been translated into the English from Finnish, and so I think that's great. So we have Siri and Irma, who are best friends, and they live at Sunset Grove, which is a retirement community. They have a combined age of nearly 180, but they have been friends for decades. There has been a suspicious death, and so they decide to investigate, and they begin their own private investigations firm called the Lavender Ladies Detective Agency. And then I also want to try this series, Murder in the Marius by Cara Black. This is set in Paris. We have Amy Leduc, who is a private investigator. She gets approached by an elderly Jewish man who wants her to do some top secret decoding on behalf of a woman in his synagogue. She drops off her findings and finds the woman strangled with a swastika carved on her forehead. And then the Flavia Deluce, which is to read a children's mystery or a new to you series. And I don't really read children's mysteries, so I'm going to stick with new to you. So I've got two here. This is The Seeker by S.G. J. MacLean. This is set in London in 1654, and so it's when Cromwell is ruling, and the Seeker is a spy for Cromwell, and yeah, I'm super excited about that. And then interestingly enough, this is set in the same time period. This is The Royalist by S.J. Dees. William Falkland owes Cromwell his life. To repay the debt, he must hunt a killer. And then briefly, I just also want to mention what I plan to be watching for the Columbo prompt of watching a mystery TV show. I mentioned the Inspector Calls. There is a new adaptation of the Dalgleish series by P.D. James that's just out. And so I am going to give that a try. I'm really excited about that. And one thing that I find fascinating is they haven't updated it. They have it set in the 70s, and I think that is so interesting. And then this is a movie that I discovered that's new on Netflix called In for a Murder, and it is about a woman in a small town in Poland who is an avid mystery reader, and she ends up investigating mysterious circumstances and possibly even a death. So I'm really looking forward to that one. It is in Polish with English subtitles. And then there is the 1996 version of the Moonstone that I want to watch. I found there's some, I can get it on YouTube, so I'm excited about that. There's also a new series called Madame LeBlanc that I want to give a try. This one looks really fun. It's about antiques. It's set in France. And so I'm excited about that one. And there's also a new season of Shetland out that I want to watch. I really enjoy that show as well. It's set on the Shetland Islands in the north, in Scotland. And then there's also a new show out called Grace, based on the books by Peter James. And these are modern day, like contemporary police procedurals set in, I want to say Brighton, or maybe Hastings, somewhere on the south coast of England. And I've enjoyed those books, and so I'm going to give that show a shot as well. So there you have it. That is my pile of possibilities for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. I am really excited about December and about this readathon, and I hope that you are too. I hope that you will consider joining us and read a mystery or two in December for Cloak and Dagger Christmas, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.